known to opponents on the team?
Yeah, I would start with honestly just more puck execution, so we stay in the zone longer. That would be number one by a country mile for me. Is we've had lots of times where we've given the puck away, turned the puck over, not really trying to make plays, just poor puck management, both on our entries and in zone. And so then you're not in the zone long enough. And the longer you're in the zone, the more tired the PKers get, and the less they think clearly. So I would start with that. I think a one-timer from Mantha is a fine option, but it can't be the sole option of the power play by any stretch. The up-down one-timer isn't extraordinarily dangerous. He's got a good shot, but it still isn't extraordinarily dangerous. The shooting percentages say that. So we've got to be able to certainly, to your point, create more opportunities other ways. We certainly have a player in Bobby Ryan. We need to find ways to get the puck more to him down low, and so we can make so there's more low play options, which ultimately then does open up the higher play options. The one timer from Mantha, maybe the back one timer from Hronek. But to be honest with you, some of those one timers that have been blocked have been frustrating. Some of them are good shots, some of them are probably poor shot selections, but more than that, we haven't spent enough time in zone.
What was your message to the team today?
We were better defensively. The way we're going to need to play in order to have a chance to be successful. We're going to be in lots of those tighter games, and so that's a positive. But I just think our execution still needs to be way better, and I think the number of players still need to be way better. So while it was good that we were better defensively, and we have to in order to again be in that position, I still think there's way more from more people, and it just sometimes it's simple puck execution. It's those types of things, and then ultimately in the 3-on-3, I thought we talked a couple of things about strategy with that.
Thank you.
Next up, Ted Colvin from the Detroit News.
Hey, Jeff, this kind of parlaying off Elena's question too, just but more broader as far as the offense. I talked about it the last few days. Just how do you guys manufacture just more offense these days, Jeff? I mean, you guys got several key pieces out, obviously. Some guys going to have to step up. I know you've kind of said that. Is that the main crux of it or what?
We had the chances last night at like 13 for us, 10 for them. That's overall. I like the 10 chance against. I'd like to get into that 15 range, where we have a little bit greater separation. On 13, 15 chances, you'd like to score more than one goal. How do we score more? Either guys bearing their chances, which is, obviously there's no strategic to that. You guys have to step up and score, or we have to do a better job of scoring the dirty type goals with chaos at the net. And, they're not an easy team to find our offense against. They're extremely good defensively. They've got a couple of elite defensemen in a really big decor. So, and they play well structurally. So it's not going to be easy offense. And to be honest with you, I think we got to be okay with being in games that are 1-1. Like if we can be in a lot of games that are 1-1 late in the game, I think it's a good spot for us. And then we got to find ways to win those. How do you win those? You win them with what Helene said, with making a play in the power play. When you get those opportunities, you win them with winning that specialty teams battle, and then you win them by making a critical play at a critical moment. But we want to be in as many of those tight games in the third period as we can, and to do that, we got to make sure our defense is great. And it wasn't great last night, but it was much better.
Hey, Jeff, is it difficult for a player to be content, like to be in a 1-1 game or be in a close night? They're probably thinking, well, let's go out and make a play or do something like that. Is that kind of a mindset too, or to have that sort of patience to be content to be in that type of game?
It's a maturity for sure, and I'll go back to Zetterberg used to say this lots. You got to be okay with nothing happening on a shift, and that's okay. And you can't force things to happen. You have to attack when the opponent's vulnerable. That's when you strike. You can't force it. If you force it, generally bad things happen. So yes, it's a mentality. I thought we showed fairly good maturity as the game went along last night of just laying pucks in behind them and being okay with that. And our forecheck wasn't good enough. Their forecheck was better than our forecheck. But ultimately, I thought we showed decent maturity as the game went along and didn't try to force plays that weren't there and turn pucks over. And next thing you know, you lose 3-1. So, we were in the position we want to be in. We got to be comfortable being in that position, because if we want to be successful, we're going to be in that position a lot. And if we're comfortable being in that position, then the next step is finding ways to win the game.
Lineup wise, injury wise, pretty much the same lineup tomorrow. Is it too early to tell?
I'm not sure on that yet. So we'll see. We'll see when we get here in the morning.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Next up, Max Bultman from The Athletic.
Hey, Jeff, following up on that from Ted, anybody not practice today? I know Dylan missed some time at one point yesterday.
Dylan did not practice today. I don't have an update further than that. It's not a COVID protocol thing. I don't think it's going to be anything that's going to force him to miss the game, but we'll see.
And then just in terms of guys, that's already a position that you're having to kind of fill a little bit. If he isn't able to go, I don't know how much you want to go down that road, but who do you kind of look to step up in that case?
Everybody. To be honest with you, I think when you are missing guys, and again, I don't anticipate missing Dylan, but when you are missing guys, everybody's got to play great. And I've said it a lot. It's whatever. It sounds like coach speak, but it's not. It's the reality is you can't have guys play okay. You can't play okay, and you honestly can't have a whole bunch of guys playing good for themselves. They got to play great within whatever that means for them. They got to play great, and that's where I felt that we still have more to give. We've got a lot more to give, and it's good that we got back to playing sound defensive hockey, but we got a lot more to give.
And then it seems like the Stahl-Stetcher pair is one that you've leaned on quite a bit so far here. What do you like about what they've done, and what stands out about kind of their dynamic together?
Well, first, I think both of them have played fairly good. I thought Stalzy played really good last night. I thought he looked like he had a lot of jump in his stick. I think both of them have played good hockey for us. They're both competitive. They're both pretty smart, and so they make pretty good decisions when the chaos happens out there, and that's what you need out of defensemen. And they seem to work well together. It's good to have a lefty and a righty. It's good to try to create some chemistry together. So, but both smart and both highly competitive, and obviously one's big, one's small, but they're both kind of have those other attributes that can make them be successful.
Thank you.
Next up, Matt Larkin from the Hockey News.
Hey, Jeff. So we're at the 7-game mark now, which is crazy, but it's already an eighth of the way through the season. So I was just curious if you could assess Dylan Larkin's transition to the captaincy so far, just how you feel about how he's doing, and whether you see any differences in his game, now as a captain compared to, let's say, a year ago before the long layoff.
Well, first off, I think as a leader, I think he's doing a good job because he's being who he is. He's just being Dylan Larkin, and Dylan Larkin was named captain because of the attributes that he has. Starting, when I've talked about this when he was named, he has the respect of everybody in the room because of his work ethic, his inner drive, his care for others, his passion to win, and he's just continued to be Dylan Larkin. And I think that's the number one key to being a good leader, is being true to yourself and continuing to garner the respect of those that you're trying to lead. So I think he's done an excellent job with that side of things. I think coming into the year, Dylan wanted to have a big year, and I think early he was forcing stuff a bit too much. I thought he was really coming the last few games. Last night he wasn't feeling great, and I think it showed a little bit. I don't think he had his best game, but I thought prior to that he was starting to produce a number of chances and without giving much up. And ultimately, Dylan and I have spoke lots. For him to be a great player, in my opinion, and I think he believes this, he's got to be a great 200-foot player. He's got to be a guy who produces offense without giving much up, and he's going to defend different than some of the other, great defensive centers in the league, or not great defensive centers, great winning centers in the league. He's going to do it a little more with his athleticism and his competitiveness, where a guy like Bergeron does it a little bit more just with his subtlety and his smarts. But I think he can become a guy who can be dominant in those areas. And so, how has he adapted from his game? Like I said, early in the season, I thought he was trying to force not because of the captaincy, I don't think at all. I just think because he wanted to have a big year, and I think he's done a good job of recognizing that he's got to play within himself and just be a good winner every day.
Good. And lastly, how would you characterize his leadership style? Is he more of a rah-rah guy, or is he more of a kind of lead by example, just do it on the ice kind of guy?
Well, I'd say a little of both. I think definitely he leads by example with, again, his work ethic, his compete, his inner drive, his care to win, his passion to win. He's not a rah-rah guy in a sense of giving big speeches, but I think he's a rah-rah guy in a sense of he's got great passion, and that passion comes through, and you can see the passion. And I think our players understand that. So, I think it's a little bit of both. I would say it's certainly, like most great leaders, the most important is how you lead by example, and I think that's what he's done a really good job with.
Thanks, Jeff.
It's time for one more, but Art Regner from DetroitRings.com.
Hi, Jeff. I want to ask you a question about managing a player's ice time during the course of the game. You said last night that Giovanni, who played, I think, 7:05 last night, probably deserved more ice time, and you want to get him more ice time. But I realize players dictate, during the course of the game, how they're playing, how much ice time they get. But are you going in then? Do you go in with a preconceived idea that Giovanni, I want to get him 10 minutes, at least 10 minutes, or Taro, or every player? How does that play out during the course of a game?
Well, we go in with a plan of having an idea of where we'd like guys. Certainly, how guys are playing, that gets dictated a little bit. Whether or not you get more or less. The one problem with Giovanni right now is he's not on either specialty team, and so it's hard to get a whole bunch more ice time without being on either specialty team. And then I just also think, I think he did a really good job in the game. He did a pretty good job the night before in Chicago. More trust, and the more trust you earn, the more you get put out in a lot of different situations. We had 3 young players playing together last night, and sometimes they made the right decisions, and sometimes they didn't. But they're big. They're 2 of them are big and strong, and Taro's a smart player. So in terms of what's the deciding factor, it's a number of things. It's what you've built up until that game. Like what you've done in the past matters. What you're doing in that game, where your role is in terms of specialty teams, and kind of where your role is in terms of the lines, and those all kind of get jumbled in together. Ultimately, when I look at Giovanni and he only played 7, I say to myself, we should have got him more ice time, and because I thought he was playing better. Now they also did make some mistakes and have some breakdowns defensively as a group, but I thought they were playing better than that. Now you're never going to get the ice time to where everybody's maybe where you want for everybody. Ultimately, I think somebody asked me on here about Dylan's ice time was down. Usually Dylan garners more ice time than that. So, it's a management of your bench. Ultimately, the one thing I would say again is I thought Giovanni deserved a little bit more. We'd like to get him a little bit more the next game.
And finally, Roenick over 25 minutes again. I know you want to limit that. Maybe the situation and with the COVID protocol and guys out that you might not be able to. What ideally, how many minutes would you like to see him play a game?
Closer to 22. And I think the minutes in the first period is something we got to keep making sure we're not getting too high. Last night was too high, so ultimately he's first off, a lot's on the power plays. First off, lots on the penalty kill, and he's in a matchup type role where he's playing against one of the 2 top lines. So it is difficult to get those minutes down. I think the more Danny DeKeyser gets his feet underneath him, the more that we can have more shared ice time as we continue on here. But Danny's getting himself back up to speed, and so the more he's somebody who certainly I think in the future could garner some more ice time, and hopefully that can take some away from Phil's responsibilities, and so we'll see.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. We'll be back with Taro